understood like really zero of his speech, but still it was a good practice. Like we had Italian, Spanish, Turkish, and so on and so forth, and everybody was having their own accents, own like special stuff, and you learn some Portuguese, and then I learned the first, oh my god, the cursing in oh my god, in Turkish. We had like 20 Turkish people, and every time we come into this taverna, they would say "Siktir git, siktir git," and I was like, what the hell is that? But this is fuck off in Turkish. So, but the point being, and to Peruvians, and I was going to Slovenia. And I decided just to text the guy from, like, he was Slovenian, but I met him in Poland. He was trying to flirt with me, but I didn't speak English that well at that point. I didn't even understand that. Yeah, it was so embarrassing. So, and I texted him like, hey, we're coming here. So can you, like, I don't know, show us around? I want to see you. And to be honest, I thought he would just say, fuck off, because like, why would he? Because
but he wouldn't say it in Turkish, would he?
No. He knew.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey while our podcast released a new app and searching for a fade fiend. New fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones. They gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, have some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking wisdom.io.
Welcome in, everyone. This episode, the past, the present, and the future walked into a bar with our guest, Svitlana Lytvynenko. Svitlana, доброго вечора.
Доброго вечера.
I am so curious here. I've got so much to get into. I just want to start by saying thank you very much for joining us. I know it's late for you. I think you can see behind me, I've got some daytime sunshine, and I know you do not. So thank you for that. I want to start with one or two things here. I always like to get into names. I always like to get the understanding of it all. All right. A little bird told me that there are a lot of surnames in Ukraine that have the Nienko.
And then,
Could you explain to me why that would be so common? And that way I could maybe associate that with maybe something we do here in America. I don't know.
Wow, that's a good question. It's actually one of the tricky ones. To be honest, I'm subscribed to this Ukrainian linguist, and she was explaining that, and I was watching that video, and I was so into it. But to be honest, I forgot. So it's hard to tell, but this is just the way it is.
I do coach in the grappling arts. I follow the grappling arts, wrestling, judo. And then I love boxing, and we've had a lot of athletes come over, and they've had that, and I almost always think that I'm right because I'm like, oh yeah, I bet he's Ukrainian. I try to get that out before anyone else. Like, yeah, I bet he's from Ukraine. Before anyone else. And for most of my friends in my circle, I get it first. Now I dabble in Slavic languages, so I also have an inside track. Yeah, really cool. So thanks for joining. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What led you to start a language school in Kiev?
All right. So I think the point here is the war. To be honest, that's like a weird thing, but as everybody says, there's like always something good in anything bad. And that was the weirdest point for me, but the war really kickstarted my business. There were like a couple of reasons for that. First of all, because I've been told like, hey, how long are you going to be doing, everything by yourself? How long are you going to be just like teaching and like losing voice? Because that's what I'd been doing before, and like, working from night to the late time, because I actually have students from the States. And as you know, it's 8-9 hours difference. So it's pretty tough. Yep.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah. And all of my friends, kept telling me like, hey, you have to do something, you have to, train somebody, start something. And I never really believed I could trust my own like people, my students, to anyone but me. So
Yeah.
I was like, no way, no, I'm gonna be doing that forever. I'm gonna be like old and have this giant like bags under my eyes because I'll be working all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then the war starts, and like all of my students left because it's pretty much chaos here. And I was like crying, and I was feeling so devastated because I was like, I wasn't needed. And for me personally, I actually figured that with my life coach, that was super super useful, is that I love to be important in people's lives.
Oh,
And that's how I just figured like, wow, I don't have students, so it means that I'm worthless, which means that I might as well die because nobody cares, right? And then, sorry, I'm just doing this for the first time.
yeah.
So that's why when people started coming back, and then everybody got back like so fast, and so many of them, because people had to be like spread out. They went to Germany, Belgium, the States, Canada, and all
Yeah.
of these people had to speak English, and they had to learn that before, but of course nobody did because nobody had expected that. And it's so much easier to improve your English rather than learn a new language like, let's say, French or
Yes.
or German. So that's why they just came back to me all at once, and
Uh-huh.
they had told the other people about me. So you can imagine me from going from zero to like so many people all at once. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I am needed, I am important, but I can't cope. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, and at the time I was staying at like this house, like it wasn't like abandoned, but it used to be a cottage house. Nobody would be living there. So it's the wartime, there's no proper heating, I don't have a good internet connection. I have so many people coming to me like working online. So, and I had to think of some way to delegate these people because
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to be doing this all by myself. And that's how I was like, I guess it's the time, because really, like, this is the time when everybody needs English. Everyone's abroad, and even people who are in Ukraine, they
Yeah.
like either go abroad or they're planning to, or there are bombs here, so you're inevitably like going to be doubting whether to leave Kiev or to stay in here. And
Yeah.
even staying here gives you more perspective because Ukraine is like more into this English speaking stuff, and we're going into the direction of finally speaking English. So that was the 24th of August. It's a Independence Day in Ukraine,
Yeah.
2022. When I thought, okay, this is the time. I have to do that. It was the
Uh-huh.
first year of war when I officially started my business. And that was unusual because I still kept being important, even actually more important. I was a business owner, but
Yes.
also all of these people weren't going nowhere, because before all I had to say was like, oh, I don't have time, I'm sorry. And they said, do you have anyone? I'm like, no, I can't trust anyone because I don't know anyone as good as me, because like I can trust myself, I can't trust
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah.
So, and that was the point when I actually could keep these people, give them a great like opportunity to learn
Yes.
without giving them away.
Svitlana, I live in a country that has the international language of English.
Mm,
We came from the United Kingdom or Great Britain. So for us, we don't have a we don't have anything that really pushes us to learn other languages. And so I'm always impressed when someone comes to America from anywhere and they are fluent in that language and they're
mm,
speaking English to me. Now,
mm,
I don't think I'm the best with accents. I think I could be a lot better, but I would never make fun of or get frustrated with someone because I'm having a hard time. Because think about it, they're fluent in another language and they're good enough for me to understand.
mm.
But you're like very good at English. And
Thank you.
so I need the genesis. I need to know, how did you get this good? And you're like comfortable.
Hmm.
Like you're really good. And I just kind of need to know, how did you get the desire to want to get this good at English? What pushed you?
Oh, wow. That's actually one of my absolutely favorite, most favorite questions.
Oh,
So, Yeah, it's a long story. I don't know how much time we
We got
have.
plenty of time. We got plenty of time.
All right. So you are, on the right track here. So first of all, I grew up in a village, and I don't know if you know much about Ukrainian villages. They're pretty shitty. So,
Oh,
which means that the education is like very low level, and especially if you get any good teachers who have just graduated some like proper decent university, and they
yeah.
get sent because actually they had to be sent somewhere. You couldn't choose where you want to go. No,
Oh,
instead the university said, oh, we have a lack of like teachers, go here. So basically, imagine being like a 21-year-old teacher of English, and you're being sent in to the middle of nowhere, where of course you're going to be bored. There's
yeah.
nothing to do, and you want to get married, have a family, you want to like do something, but nobody gives a shit. So all you have to do is just like basically get pregnant because this is the only way to get rid of it. Because like in Ukraine, the maternity leave is pretty good. So you basically have 3 years like free life when your work pays you full
Oh,
amount, of
oh,
your salary. And then another 3 years on top of that, you may stay at home. Nobody will pay you though, but nobody will force you to go to work.
whoa.
Yep, that's a very good thing. So you can
That's
imagine,
amazing.
me getting my first English teacher in the second grade in my in my village. So, and that was the best teacher ever. I remember I fell in love with her because she was like so young and full of energy and interesting, and she asked us to buy this absolutely bright colorful pictures, like and the books and everything had rhymes, and if you compare with anything else, everything was pretty like bland, but
Yeah.
that was colorful. I remember that stood up. And I remember one day, like the library didn't have the book, my mom had to buy the books, and I remember one day it was super super sunny, and I'm waking up, I'm walking from my room to the living room, and I see this book standing on the book stand staring at me with this like, I don't know, there was a ball, and I still have that book. There was a doggy, there were like school staff looking at me, and it was the sunny room, like completely lit with sun, and I fell in love with that. Like it was so cool.
Mhm.
So I loved this all from the very moment because the teacher was awesome, the book was colorful and like very nice quality. And then she got pregnant, she left. So after
Oh.
that, we had yet another teacher who got pregnant and left. Then we had a horrible guy who broke a nose of my classmate in the middle of our class because we were making fun of him. Yeah, because, in Ukraine, we don't say the or the. These sounds don't exist. So we would just say z in order to just make him, to piss him off. So he just did that because he knew that we're just trying to make fun of him.
Oh,
Basically, we didn't have English for 5 years straight, and that was great. Kids don't want to learn, right? Why would you
yeah.
learn if you can just not learn? So if you have a English lesson, but instead it's just like a break of 45 minutes, you're going to be having fun. You like
Yes.
have fights and you like, eat hot dog, whatever. So I had fallen in love with English, but it was in the second grade. And then in the ninth grade, I understood that I am so dumb at it, and I'm never going to be like any close to how I pictured myself as a child because I haven't done much. All of this time, there was just a gap. And then in the ninth grade, yet another teacher who had been sent from the university comes to us and she says, hey, read this. I remember the sentence in present perfect. And me and all of us, we were like, what the hell is present perfect?
Yeah.
I know the word table, or how we said window. Wow, that's the word I know. And she says present perfect. How the hell would I know what it is? And we just started laughing. And she thought that we're making fun of her, but we did not. We were just so stupid. We were just like embarrassed. So
Oh.
you can imagine me being like at this like second grade, like, oh, English, great, colorful, nice rhymes. And then in the ninth grade, being like, I'm so frustrated with myself. Like, I'm so dumb. I don't even know what it's written here in the book.
Oh.
So after that, like my self-esteem in English just like dropped completely to the floor.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And then I went to the university, and in the second year, it was a college. In the second year of college, somebody like, the university government, whatever, they said, oh, your group is going to be an English speaker like group. Like we're going to be English teachers. And we're like, my God, you're kidding me? Like, we're so dumb. Have you seen us? Have you heard us? We like have never like spoken anything. You're like window, and they couldn't care less. They said, no, you're going to be teachers of English. That's it. So like my education is, I am a preschool teacher. I have master's degree in preschool teaching, but I had to be the one who also teaches English, but at least in the kindergarten. But even the kindergarten wouldn't work because ball and window, they're not really that good if you know 3 words. So basically I was just trying to do something. And after some time, one of my teachers asked me, hey, there is the free camp with the Americans. They're coming for free. There's like the summer camp. And you can just, have fun and like meet new people. So I said, wow, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. Woo! I went there and I learned stuff, I was like, oh my God, they understand me. I say green. I say red. I was 17. That's how bad my English was. Yeah. But after 7 days, I figured like, oh my God, I can actually speak and I can play Uno. Wow, so much fun. I can be, I can be engaged with people with English. And that's how I just like started thinking that maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I can get better. So at the end of my master's, I guess bachelor's, I got invited to take part in an exchange program in Poland. And I was like, of course I'm going to go. Like, why wouldn't I go? Like, it's something cool. It's like, go abroad. You meet people. I didn't care what language we'll speak. I thought it would be English, yes. But I remember that day I was walking from a university to the metro station, Kyiv. It was like 30 minutes walk. And I couldn't make a proper sentence in English. That's how bad it was. So it had gotten better from the ball and window, but sentence. Yeah. So, and I went to Poland. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to do my best. So I was writing the words. I had this free app, and I would write the words on my palm, and I would go to the taverna, that was like the Polish like bar thing, and I decided that I don't need any Poles. Why would I speak Polish? Like Polish, nobody needs it. What I need in my life is English. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to practice English. Yep. I'm going to, first I would sit in the dormitory, write down these words, learn them, come to the Verna, and then look there and like, today I'm using these words. I might have used them wrong in the wrong construction, everything, but I did. So I started dating, going out, drinking, hanging out, traveling, all of this stuff. And the more you do, the more you fall in love with English, because then you realize that English is nothing special. It's just like a tool. And all of these people were actually not native speakers. We had the guy from Hong Kong. I understood really zero of his speech, but still it was a good practice. We had Italian, Spanish, Turkish, and so on and so forth. And everybody was having their own accents, own special stuff. And you learn some Portuguese. And then, I learned the first, the cursing in Turkish. We had 20 Turkish people. And every time I would come into this taverna, they would say, "Siktir git, siktir git." And I was like, what the hell is that? But this is fuck off in Turkish. So, but the point is, it was so much fun. I learned really all of these mixtures, but the problem with me was that my English consisted of all of these accents, just mixed together, some words from this guy, some from this girl, and all of this together. So it sounded pretty weird. Especially I hated, French, because they say H. Oh no, they don't say H. They would say she and E. And I'm like, what the hell is E? So it's she and he. Got it? It's he.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's E. And I'm like, what the hell is E? So it's super weird. Yeah. So, and I remember at some point, I was already being able to hold a proper conversation and, have fun with people. And then I asked someone, I said, how much time is it? I asked, how much time is it? And one Ukrainian girl comes to me and says, what time is it? And I'm like, oh my God, stupid. It had been half a year. Nobody had corrected me before this Ukrainian. So I was like, oh, people are just laughing at me. I'm so dumb. And after a while, I went volunteering to Spain. I stayed there for 2 weeks. I was next to, like, not far from Barcelona, and it was also a group of like international people. Then I went to Croatia for 2 months. Again,
Oh,
lots of people, woo, yeah, Malta. We had a guy from Finland,
yeah.
was Peru. I lived with them like all together. It was so much fun. And I remember when I was traveling with this one Polish girl and two Peruvians, and I was going to Slovenia. And I decided just to text the guy from, like, he was Slovenian, but I met him in Poland. Yeah,
Oh,
he was
okay.
trying to flirt with me, but I didn't speak English that well at that point. I didn't even understand that. Yeah, it was so embarrassing. So, and I texted him like, "Hey, we're coming here. So can you, like, I don't know, show us around? I want to see you." And
Yeah.
to be honest, I thought he would just say "fuck off," because, like, why would
Yeah.
he? Because I
But
just
he wouldn't say it in Turkish, would he?
no, he knew that word. Everybody does. Yeah, I mean, from our group. No, he said like, "Oh no, of course I can show you around. Come over and, like, I'll give you a tour."
Oh,
So I remember meeting him, and we meet him at the railway station. And the first thing I noticed is that, like, just for the record, in Poland, his English was the best. So out
oh,
of 80 people from this international community, his English was the best, and he was trying to date me, but I didn't understand anything at that point. So it was so tough. So, and now, like 4 years afterwards, I go to his country, yeah, with my friends. We're asking him to be our host, and what I noticed the first is that his English is shit. And I'm like, wow, how come? And I'm like, hasn't he, like, been speaking English, or I know he hasn't practiced, or maybe I've gotten better at it. And then, like, I figured that actually it's the mixture of all of it, because yeah, he's been, like, staying in his country, and I got married, and my husband is American, so I speak English all the time. It's like, my
oh.
native English, basically, native language. So, and I just see him, and I'm like, wow, how much I've grown. And
Yes.
only then I've noticed that, right? I'm like, wow, just now, like this milestone. Before I wasn't noticing that, because, just doing it, like, naturally. At
Yeah.
that point, I had been, like, teaching English for a while, but I really hadn't noticed up until that moment. So,
Ah,
and then, like, it just went, like, little by little. And again, like, my husband's an American. That was also one of the, like, things that really pushed me, because I never liked Ukrainian men, to be honest. It's
oh,
like my dad. Yeah, they spit, they yell. Yeah, they never brush their teeth. They never, like, wash their hair. Like, I'm sorry, that's not my type of thing. Yeah. So, like, whenever, like, the moment I came from any of, like, my travels or volunteering or whatever, I would always want to either go abroad or find a, like, foreigner here. So that's
oh,
actually how I found out with my husband. Yeah, I went to this, like, party for the foreigners, and we just came across, and I just, like, started learning some words, like, as I went. Yeah,
yeah.
like, he would say something, I would just pick it up. And then I remember, like, as I'm a teacher of English and, like, a teacher of Ukrainian for Americans, I noticed that sometimes I would just say something, and they say, like, "Hey, how do you do that? Like, what's that?" Like, and I would just say it, and I don't remember how I'd learned it, because
Oh,
before, all of the words had been, like, picked up in the conversations, in games, like being abroad, volunteering, living in Poland, whatever.
yeah.
I even remember the word shoelaces, how I learned them. I was in Spain. We're playing this game. It's called a hat. When you have, like, the hat with the words, you pick up the word and you have to explain it. And everybody, like, was from other countries, but not English-speaking countries. So I remember there was this one sheet of paper left, and everybody would pick it up, read it, and, like, "Oh, I don't know this word," and they just, like, put it back. The next one, "I don't know this word," and then it came to me, and I'm like, "I don't know this word," so I put it back. And then the guy who did know it, he was like, "Oh, these are the things for your shoes," and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
shoelaces. Yeah.
shoelaces.
So,
Yeah.
yep, that's how I got most of my words. Just just live your life, and just trying to figure out as you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Live and learn.
Yep.
That's
Yep, that's what it
that's
is.
literally it. How I almost feel like, are you a life coach as you teach people the language, because you're trying to stay positive. I've dabbled in languages, and almost like in your story, I think we all get to a point and you realize, man, I'm not that smart. I'm not picking it up that fast like we all want to. and you might get down on yourself. But I've had a couple teachers who's like, oh no, Donato, you're doing great. You're right where you need to be, if not ahead. Just keep going. And that's something different. Like, we can be very confident and very good in the other parts of our life. When it comes to languages and feeling inferior or dumb, for lack of a better word, sometimes you guys, the teachers, become life coaches. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a very, very good point, because I actually have a student of mine who is learning Ukrainian. She is from LA, and yeah, Lynn. Yeah, if she listens to me, hi, Lynn. So yeah, and I keep telling her like, "Wow, you're so good at it. Wow, you're doing great." Like, you know, um, Ukrainians have always had the understanding that Cyrillic is different from like English, German, right? The way you guys write. So because you use Latin letters, for us it's like obvious that like Samsung is written like in Latin, but like our Litvinenko is in Cyrillic. And that's why we are like raised in this bilingual like alphabet. At least people might not speak English, but they know that P in English is R in Ukrainian.
Yes.
But the point with Americans is that they do not.
No.
You guys don't understand our letters. And when I just started working with her, and there was some word and she had to read it, and she's looking at the word and it's super easy. It's like 3 letters word, and she's like, and at first I'm like, what's that hard? It's 3 letters.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, oh my God, letters are different for her.
Yeah.
She doesn't even like understand the words because the letters are not the same.
Yeah.
Oh my God, of course it's tough. And she was so self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
And at some point she was like writing some stuff, and she said, it's okay, give me some minute. I'm like, okay, sure. She's like, okay. And then she's like, you're so passionate. Oh no, she's like, wait, you're so passionate. No, patient. You're so patient. You're so patient. And I'm like, yeah, I've been like working with really people like starters who didn't know the word dog. So it's like, okay that you don't know some words in Ukrainian. And just the other day, we're having a lesson with her. It's been 2 months as we've been working together. And she said that there was like this thing, I just like told her some like kind of little conversation. She had to write it down in Ukrainian without making mistakes. Then change the cases. Like it was about you, and then had to change the case about me, which is like everything changes in Ukrainian. So, and it was like, it had to be real about her. So she had to change some information. Got it? And it only had been like, it's been really 2 months. So, and she said, wow, I wrote this only after 2 months. How did I do that? Oh, you're such a great teacher. And it was like so inspiring for me, because I remember her saying that she had some like teacher of Ukrainian who was telling her just big words, like big phrases. And she had this like feeling that she's stuck. She'll never learn the language. She's like so afraid to even put any effort, because why would you try?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Anyone that has challenged themselves, an American, to learn a language and the Slavic languages. Although what I say, Svitlana, I joined a Greek fraternity. It's big here in America. And I had to learn the Greek alphabet. And I noticed that helps me with Cyrillic. But everyone doesn't have that kind of background. But in my fraternity, we had to learn the Greek alphabet and be able to say it fast. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, psi, alpha, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. And like I had to do it that fast. So I knew it. And I think that helped me. But yeah, everyone doesn't have that. So you know what? Kudos to you. She's right. Lynn, you're right. And thanks for watching, Lynn. But you're right. She is patient, because without that, I don't know how anybody would. I'll tell you this, though. Here in America, and Lynn will back me up on this, we're not talking to anyone else. It's just you, me, and Lynn here. I would say Japanese, Chinese, maybe Arabic, certainly Ukrainian. I mean, there are certain languages that we are definitely afraid of trying here. We consider them the hardest ever. So Lynn is a boss just for trying, and she's 2 months in. Yep, the City of Angels.
Yep.
She's
But the
representing
point
Los
is,
Angeles.
right, she actually does speak Japanese, and she speaks, I think, Serbian or something like this. Yeah, that sometimes I would say some words in Ukrainian, and she says, "Oh, I'm in German," and she says, "Oh my God, this is completely German," and then I say something, she's like, "Oh my God, this is Turkish," and Turkish is like Serbian because Serbian they took this from Turkey, so that's why it's this word that it's easy. I know this, and I'm like, "You're kidding me?" Like, yeah, right?
Okay, wait a minute. I take all that back. Lynn, I'm taking it all back. You're a robot. You're a superwoman. She's not normal. She's not like us.
No, really. Yep, not like us. I don't know how to do German. I've tried. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Do you speak German? Hey, you used to live there.
I did. And I picked it up pretty quick. I played semi-pro American football while I was there. And our coach, in fact, we could only have 6 Americans on the team. So our coaches talk to us in German first, and then they pause, see if the Americans are keeping up. And if we got it, cool. If we don't have it, still cool. But sometimes they'd be like, okay, fine, we'll translate for you guys. This is what we're saying. But yeah, I did pick it up. Although I came to America after living there for those 3 years, haven't been using it. And so, if you don't, we say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some things there. Ich komme aus Bavaria.
It's like I am from?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Great job. Hey, how do I say good job in Ukrainian? How could I say that?
Oh, well, we usually say like you are great. So basically we just say like one word, which means you are great. Okay. So молодец.
Молодец.
Yes, good.
Молодец, Svitlana.
Thank
Look
you.
at you dabbling in German. That's really cool. Okay.
Oh, actually, German stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned it. I'm very curious here. What's it like being married to an American expat, especially during such a turbulent time in Ukraine? That goes 2 different ways. One, you've got to learn him and his culture. And then 2, you may even have to do some explanation to him of the current situation and how this is not like it used to be, but this is how we are now. So please, I'll just state again, what's it like being married to an American expat, and then especially during such a turbulent time in Ukraine?
Wow, that's a very, very good question. It is very horrible.
Oh my
Absolutely the worst.
Huh?
Just yesterday we had a giant fight over that Americans are okay. I'm not going to be telling about all Americans, but it's just because we had a conversation with French fries. Yeah, which got into politics and into Trump and about Americans are horrible people. That's how it all got, It started that I thought that having French fries 3 days in a row is bad. Yeah, but he said that this is bullshit. And he had been drunk at that point. So you can imagine it's not that good of a conversation. Yeah. And then later on he said, I couldn't care less. And I'm like, yeah, you're my husband. You're supposed to care. And he says, if you don't agree with me, then why would I listen to you? And I'm like, yeah, just like Trump. That's what he does. If Zelensky doesn't agree, he did and basically, yeah, that's how it started. So that's how he said. He said that Americans only care about themselves, as he said, and that's why if you don't like the way he does stuff, or that he agrees that having French fries is good, and no matter how much you eat, it will always be great because fuck you. That's what he keeps saying, right? That's his very strong point. And I think that as a life coach as well, maybe that's why, that everybody is different. And there's no right or wrong. There's I think for me, having French fries 3 times in a row is bad. Maybe for you it's not. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm just saying that I think I want to change my routine and change my diet, so I don't do that. But instead, it got into, I don't agree, you're wrong, fuck off. So horrible. That is very tough.
Svitlana, now I got to get your opinion here. What if I want to eat pizza 3 days in a row? How does that hit you?
See, I don't care what you do. You can eat whatever you want. I was just telling about myself. I had French fries on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I think it's just not good for me. That's it. But that was just my comment, and I just wanted to discuss with my husband. And if he
Yeah,
doesn't agree, he cannot, like, he doesn't have to agree with me. I just
yeah.
want him to just hear me out. That's it. But instead, there was a lecture about, all the precious things from America.
Yeah, no, that's great. Oh man, that's a lot of fun there. Okay, when how was let me back this one up. What advice would you give entrepreneurs trying to build a business, especially in uncertain times? Because that's the other part of it. Just going out there and starting your own business is scary. But you don't seem like you're quaking in your boots, as we say here in America. You look like a very confident and proud entrepreneur. So, what advice would you give someone that's considering?
Thanks. Okay. Well, I would say it really depends on where you are, because I have lots of like life coaches who are in Great Britain, and they have absolutely different like things how to establish a business, what rules they are, what taxes to pay. So really depends on where you are. Concerning Ukraine, it's not a big of a deal actually. I was really scared before. I was like, oh, this is so horrible, why would I do that?
Yeah,
Like in Ukraine, what we do, honestly, first we just started without opening the legal like an entity, and
yeah,
then after like 2-3 months as you go, you see like whether it's worth it. Because I have a friend of mine who had her like coffee shop for 2 years now, and now she's selling the business like altogether. So basically you've opened the legal entity, you've hired the lawyer, the accountant, the like workers, ad people, SMM, all of that, and then you have to close it all. And there are also different types of like this entrepreneurship in Ukraine. So depending like whether you have workers or not, how many of them you have, what type of work you do. So I would
yeah,
strongly recommend first doing what you do and see how it goes. And
yeah,
if it goes well, just like if it picks up and you can add some like one helper and just see if you guys can get along, if you can get more clients, if it's even worth it. Because again, I have a student of mine who is in the oh my god, she's in flowers business. She has her own flower store, and she was working together, like having a business together with her friend. And now they're fighting over who will get the business, because apparently in American law, like in this sign they've paid the contract they've signed, it's you're not allowed to open another business, like this kind of business, within 13 miles, and they live within 12 miles from each other. So
oh,
basically she's fucked. So
yes,
she either has to buy this business even if she doesn't like it, or she wants to close it, but she has to do that, or she
mhm,
has to like leave it completely and just start something else, which is also a tough thing because it's your
yes,
business, like your child.
yeah,
So it really depends where you are, who
yeah,
you are doing with. And luckily in Ukraine, you really don't have to like register it that very moment. You
okay,
have some time like just to get accustomed, to see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, you can close it, and just without losing all of this stuff. Because really, my husband had his own like this entrepreneurship like thing opened one
yeah,
year. Like you open it, and if you close it like in some year and then you open it again in the same year, the
yeah.
tax goes from 5% to 15%.
Whoa,
Yeah,
good.
so from your income. So you can imagine this is not a good thing to do. And why would you waste so much money?
Yeah,
And you hadn't known that. You're just like, oh yeah, let's open, let's close. Who cares? No,
mhm,
this is important. You'd
yes,
better
it is.
first find out and then close or open something. So it's not easy, but
Yeah,
just like don't jump into conclusions. Don't try too hard.
yeah.
Instead, do little by little and just see how it goes. Does it progress well? Doesn't make sense. If no, it's fine just to close it and forget about it.
Have you noticed any shifts in what students want to learn since the war began? I could imagine before it might have been one way, but since then there's there was a shift. Have you noticed?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I would say yeah, because now the main focus is on where that person is. So if you
Oh,
are in Germany, all you want to do is try to just get by. So your English has to be enough to survive, but of course you will eventually learn German. So basically it's like different aim for that person. If you are in Canada or in the States, your main goal is to get a good job and to be understood and to like get what people are saying to you. Like if you're in Poland, that is like just to get better at your language skills so you can get some international job. So really depending where you are. Before it was just like, hey, let's talk about travels. Ooh, yeah. So it did change.
Life in Ukraine during the war. How has daily life in Kiev changed for you, your family, and your students?
All right. Well, it's tough. Now we're having the siren at this very moment. We can die. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Hi, Russia. Yeah. So horrible. We just had a strike. The house was hit 500 meters from us when I went to bed 3 days ago.
Good grief.
2 people died. Yeah. One a very important, like well-known surgeon, and. Oh my God, there was a my God, let me think. It's a journalist. Yeah, and a journalist. They were sleeping in the bedroom, and the drone hit the bedroom. Everything was burnt, and their remnants were like found, and basically there was like not even a body. So and a friend, like my friend's sister lives 300 meters from them. She has a 2-year-old kid, so she like started having some horrible like nerves like attacks and like some problems with her skin. So it's not easy. Yeah. So and because I live in a suburb, everything flies over us and everything is being like intercepted over us and everything falls next to us. So last year there was a rocket which was like as big as I am. I am like 160 centimeters. Oh, you guys don't think in that. Well, I'm not that tall, okay? I'm not like a normal American. I'm like half of a normal American, okay? Let's be like this. Yeah. So because at this very moment we have like two my husband's American friends making the drawer, and they're like proper American size, okay? I'm half of it. So and there was like my size rocket flying like 2 buildings from us and setting on fire the entire post office building. And it was so strong that even though I had my curtains like closed, drawn, and then I had the balcony after that completely closed, I still saw the fire outside. Like this is how close, scary, loud, red, horrible it was. So it's hell. I wish Russians would ever feel like that. Sorry, couldn't just help doing that. This is
no, understood. I mean, your country is occupied. I don't expect you to go out there offering cookies and feeling very happy.
Yeah, I actually used to have a Russian student. Yeah, he's in London. He's fine. He's normal. I love him because he respects us. And he wants Putin to die.
And he did not invade you.
He did not invade me. Yeah,
no,
yeah. He actually helped me. He helped my parents because my parents' house where I grew up had been hit by shelling because it was my village was occupied. So and he was donating to rebuild my house. So
wow. Check that guy out. What are some common misconceptions people outside of Ukraine have about what's happening on the ground? I bet you probably get a lot of questions and everyone's like, hey, what are some of those?
I just never understand, you know. It's like we were actually having a conversation with Lynn the other day, and she was telling me that, like, well, she lives in Bucha. I don't know if you know much about Bucha. It's like this, the most horrible place in Ukraine where Russians were doing all the atrocities you can imagine, like Irpin and Bucha. These are the two places that were the worst. And she lives in Bucha specifically because she wants to, like, help the rebuild the community. And we're discussing the, like, the way to find a therapist in Ukraine, and preferably English-speaking one, because she has troubles with that. And I said, okay, why don't you just find some, English-speaking one who lives abroad? And she said, yeah, it's tough because when they talk, like I tell them that there's a siren, they're like, oh, poor you, there is a siren. And like, we don't care there's a siren. When there's a siren, pregnant women go outside and do their stuff because there's a siren 5 times a day. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot just sit at home and cry because there's a siren. Yeah, if they're like shit falling on your head, then you might actually, hide. But before that, everyone's fine. So people don't understand because they haven't been in our shoes. And that's of course understandable. How can you know what it means to live in a war when you don't have a war? So
agreed.
Yeah, like I do have a friend of mine who lives in Israel. She understands. Israel is as bad.
Oh, that's a great comparison. Yeah. Okay. How do you and your husband navigate the emotional and the practical challenges of living in a war zone? Especially,
Mm.
yeah, to your point, uh, it doesn't sound like he's from Israel. So he may not have had that type of understanding or perspective, if you will. How do you guys, how does he navigate?
hmm Well, he moved to Ukraine in 2014. So he
Oh,
clearly knows what it means to like live in a wartime.
yeah.
And he's a journalist, so his entire days go by scrolling the news, reading the story, and
Yeah.
he really goes in depth. He went to Okhmadit, if you know, it's like this big Ukrainian cancer, like the hospital that treats cancer,
Oh,
kids with cancer, and he went there after the strike to specifically like film it and see and be on the spot on the ground. So
yeah.
it's very tough, I would say, because at least I can just like close my bubble and live like happy life. Everything's
Yes.
fine. I'm doing my life, But not about him because
Yeah. He's gotta
he can just turn off.
relive
He
it.
has to,
Yeah.
yeah. And every
Oh,
time some like shit happens, he has to go through that, and sometimes it's impossible because he just he's so into it,
yeah.
and he cares. He truly does. When I read about Trump and Zelensky, I want like Trump preferably, not touch Ukraine, and Zelensky to sign something great so we just stop the war. Like
Yeah.
I am so far from that, but he actually knows the pros and cons and who and how.
Yes.
Like when Vinnytsia, it's a town in the central Ukraine. We spent there 11 months of the war. When it got hit, and I think 30 people, including like infants, were killed, he
Oh,
knew every story of that person. He knew how they were killed, what they had done before, where they'd lived, how they'd been moved. They'd been like internally look like this dislocated people, like all of this stuff. I saw the rocket fly over my head that day
yeah.
because we were in Vinnytsia then, but I didn't know all of that, and I didn't want to know. He had gone there. He was looking at the like smoke coming off that building, of that it was a mall, and imagine he can go through that and have this depression for a month.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I certainly can understand that. That's wow. That's tough. Um, I want to switch to personal growth and coaching. We mentioned it earlier. As a life coach, what advice do you give people struggling with fear and uncertainty, especially those of us like me, interest in Slavic languages, and we're, the average American that wants to give it a try, even though we don't do this. We should, but we don't. But we've got that fear and uncertainty. As a life coach, what would you say?
You mean specifically about learning the language?
Well, that would be one of them, but because that's what I can identify with
Mm-hmm.
languages, the fear and
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty of
Mm-hmm.
that. And so that would be my example. But what would
Mm-hmm.
you offer?
Sure. Well, as the beauty of life coaching, as opposed to like whatever you think a therapist, a psychologist, psychotherapist would do, is that you don't offer anything. You don't say, "Hey, you have to do that." Yeah, because I had a client of mine who told me like, "Oh, my like therapist had told me to leave my girlfriend," and I'm like, "My God." So we
Yeah.
don't tell people what to do. We don't offer people anything. We ask and listen. And this is
Oh,
the most, um, let me just find the right word here, okay?
mhm.
This
Okay.
is just like insightful. This is the
Yeah.
word. It
Yeah.
is insightful. Like once you've been on the receiving end on a life coaching session, you really feel understood,
Uh, yeah.
like I love psychology. I was actually into this beautiful, absolutely amazing series of lectures from New York University about intimate relationship, and there was this absolutely great quote of the main lecture. He said, everybody in this life, in any kind of relationship, intimate, like friends, parents, spouses, everybody needs three things in life. Is A, to be understood,
Mhm.
B, to be valued, and C, to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So once people really truly understand who you are, what you're fearing, what you're trying to figure out in this world, they really see the value in you, that you
Mm.
are a valuable person. You're not like, oh, you're no one, do whatever you want. No, I value you. I really, truly value. And like, I see the beauty of you. And
Yeah.
then I take care of you. I want to help you. If there's anything I can do, even if helping means just sit there, stare in your eyes, and just like, hey, yeah, I can listen to you, right? So these things are different for everyone. Some people need to just like be heard for 2 minutes. Oh, I have a trouble. Sure, of course, tell me about it. Some people want to be heard for months on end, and that's okay. Some
Sure.
people want to like see value in like hug, telling that I really appreciate you, right? Or
Mhm.
just like helping out with some stuff, giving water, and that's also a good one, right?
Yes.
You're like valuable to me, and your well-being is important to me, and maybe water at that point is something that you need. So, and the
Yeah.
same goes to taking care of. So not everybody needs you to tell, hey, you need to wear a hat or something. Some
Right.
people want just like to be there, right? To be included, or to give distance. So
Yes.
what I would say is that, tell me about yourself. Tell me how you feel. Why do you feel this way?
Mm.
Have you done anything about that? Is there anything you're not seeing? Maybe there's a different perspective of that. Is that a true answer to your question? Is that what you are really trying to figure out? Or maybe
Yeah.
there's something hidden beneath that.
Yeah.
So it's not
Um,
white and black.
yeah, no, I could see that. I can see that. How do you personally stay resilient and motivated despite the challenges around you?
Sure. Okay. So Um, I think I'm doing this like self life coaching actually, because
Oh,
pretty often, yeah, I just go on walks, I just talk to myself, and I just try to hear myself out, and just to notice some pattern, like, why do I do that? Why am I stressed out? What do I do wrong? Why did I react like that? What's wrong? What's I really love this one. What's the real reason behind this? This is
ah,
so special and powerful, because we're just trying to hide behind some, oh, this is because this, because that.
yes.
No, what's the real reason? Okay, let's be honest with yourself. And this is like what really helps me out, because I am trying to be a good friend of myself, just to be a good friend.
Sure.
And also there's a good thing is that, I don't know, you guys do that, but in Ukraine we use this like thing. It's a messenger, it's called Telegram. And in there you can record an audio message to, friends or family, whatever.
Oh.
So in Ukraine, everybody does it. Like, this is just so funny, because you're just walking on the street and you pass by some stranger, and everybody's like, having their phone like this, because they're listening to the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
they're like, da, 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 da,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody does it. So, and I have a friend of mine who actually I mentioned before, she was having her coffee place. She's selling it right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's like one of my best friends. And every time I just start my day by recording an audio message to her. I just tell about my day, how it went, what's going on. She tells me about her day. And this is like as if we're having a conversation while
Yes.
living our lives. When I am free, I can listen to her stuff. When she's free, she listens to mine. Sometimes she responds, sometimes she doesn't. So basically, it feels as if we're together. But it's actually a fun fact is that within these 3 years, first of all, we just started talking like 3 days before the war started.
Oh.
And second of all is that within these 3 years time span, we'd actually met 4 times.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, even though we talk every single day. So
Yeah.
the question is that, yes, she lives 300 kilometers from me. It's like
Mhm.
3 hours drive from me.
Yeah.
Yes, she has 2 kids. Her husband is in the military. It's a very different like life. She lives in a
Yeah.
small town. I live next to Kiev. Everything's different. But we are connected. So no matter what
Mhm.
happens, we always talk, discuss, and we feel stuff. So that's what personally makes me feel like safe, because I have this routine. I know that she's there,
Yes.
even though she's far, even though we basically never see each other, can never organize any like sauna trip because she has 2 kids.
Yes.
But It feels that there's a friend who is
Yeah.
there for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's so helpful for you, and I'm glad you have it. I just I'm so distracted by the thought. To your point, everyone's in Ukraine using Telegram. They're either sending or receiving.
Yep.
I'm sending a
Yes, it's
message
so
right
funny.
now.
It's
Thank
so
you,
funny.
listening. And then,
Yeah,
oh
just
wait, I gotta
yesterday.
hear this.
Just yesterday. I was like, no, 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 no. And the girl next to me was like going like passing me and like, just insane.
I just have a few more here. Wow, this time is really flow. I love it. I almost I love it when I say it in the episode because I'm an expressive person, but I want you and people to know I'm having a lot of fun.
Me too. Yeah, it's so
Svetlana,
cool.
what role does language play in connecting people during a crisis like this, though?
Wow. Are you talking about Ukrainian and Russian?
I was thinking more of the. So you said there's a lot of interest in the Ukrainian language now,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe now you've got someone in India that's like, oh man, I don't like that they got invaded, and they're learning so much about Ukraine, and now they're like, I think I'm going to learn some Ukrainian. So in my opinion, I think there's a lot of attraction to Ukraine and
Mm-hmm.
Ukrainian language now, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a lot of people that would like to adopt it in their pursuit of languages going forward. So for
Mm-hmm.
you, what role do you see that language plays in connecting?
Mm-hmm. That is a very strong link between the cultures because, as I mentioned before, there was this guy, the Russian guy, who I actually had met before in one of my volunteering trips, and when he found out about my parents' place being blown up by the Russians, he wanted to help somehow. First, he donated, then he donated again, and then he said, "Hey, I want to learn Ukrainian." And I was like, "Ah, ha, ha, of course, yeah, I don't believe you. You're just trying to kiss my ass
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
a dumb piece of shit because you're Russian." He hated Russian. Yeah. And
Wait,
I thought,
did you say that live or did you send that through Telegram to him?
I
Because
texted
if you
you.
did it
I
live, you
texted
could see
you.
his reaction.
I texted you. Yeah, I remember the first time when it was the first day of war. Because see, in Spain, when we met, I never spoke to him because he's the enemy. Like, see, I was brought up in the family where my older brother said Russians are not friends. We never called them enemies. We just said Russians are not friends. That's it. It's like they're not us. They're different. Don't talk to them. Don't be like them. Don't try. So that's why when I was in Spain, everybody knows that all Ukrainians speak Russian. Everybody does. But I choose not to, and that's my like conscious choice, which I made when I was 7. So when I met these
Whoa.
people, yeah, when I met these people, there was 2 guys from Moscow, and I met them in Spain. The first thing was like, hi in English, you don't exist to me. So that's it. And I was pretending that I don't speak any Russian, but one time I actually got caught. So there were the French girls, and when you have people from the same country, because again language, right,
Yeah.
they once they turn like they switch their own language, they're like caught, they're like engaged because this is their language, and the other language becomes like tumult to them. But that was the thing, we were all discussing in English, and then this guy, the Russian one, calls another Russian guy, and I do this because I react, because I know what
Oh,
he's saying, right?
yeah.
And everybody's like, "Oh, you're a liar! You speak
Got you.
Russian. You understand?" And I'm like, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh."
Oh.
Yeah. So I just like again English forever. Never spoke to him. I know his name, Vitaly. He's tall. That's it. So and then first day of war, yeah, after 9 years of not talking or even seeing each other, and
Yeah.
he says, I'm so sorry. Like, he was in London at that point. He lives in London. Like, this is like so embarrassing. I can't even imagine. Like, how can I help? And I am sitting there in Vinnytsia, in the central Ukraine. I am sobbing there, looking like horrible witch sitting in the cellar,
Yeah.
like Russian helicopters flying over my head. And I'm
Oh.
like, I want you to die, but how can you help me? Ha ha ha. And he said, can I send you some money? And I'm like, you're gonna send me some money? I don't believe you. Like, why would you do that? And he said, give me your card number. I was like, sure.
Yeah.
I just did it. And he sent me $100. Believe me, in
Oh.
the first
Good
day of
job,
war,
Paul Vitaly.
in the first day of war, where all like all Ukrainian banks were so petrified of, people trying to get their money, so they
Yeah.
froze all accounts. You
Oh.
couldn't use anything but like some tiny amount of money. Of course, no credit allowed. You couldn't take any cash. You couldn't even change dollars because they were like, dollar just dropped so much because everybody was changing dollars. So I was just sitting there. My husband was in Kiev. I was there all alone. I was expecting any Russian soldier come into my flat like the moment and kill me on the spot. And this
Oh.
guy sends me $100.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that is like, wow, that's big. So I was like, you're not that much of a douchebag. Okay, let's try to work with you. And then, like, again, when my house got blown up and he helped me with that one. And then later he said, I want to like learn the language. And I was like, yeah, 3 days, he's out. I don't believe that. He was learning for 2 years.
No.
Every week. An
Tall
hour.
Vitaly. Tall
Really?
Vitaly in London. I'm a fan.
I should send him the link to the video,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, actually, it was me who said, I think we should stop because I was preparing for pregnancy and I decided that I want to have like, less work, and we had to work on Saturdays because, he lives in London and it's still 2 hours difference, and he has his work and I have my work, and, it had to be Saturday. But I love my weekends free. That's actually an exception for you.
No,
So
and late nights.
and late
so
night,
rude.
right?
I'm so rude.
Yeah, so that's why I said, like, you know what? I never expected you to stay this late, this far, to go to this long, to go this far. And he was so good at Ukrainian, and it really connected me. That on the 31st of December this year, like last year, I got it on the New Year's Eve. I recorded him an audio message in Ukrainian, and he recorded back in Ukrainian. Imagine.
What?
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. Oh my God, that was so cool. And he basically made like one mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what a flex. What a flex.
really. Like
Consider-
my heart melted.
Yeah,
I was
very
like,
cool.
really? So cool. So yeah, it does make a giant difference. And
Oh,
now we
check this
also have
out. Check this out. Vitaly Молодец.
Yes, that's a good one. Right? Yeah. And now we have like one more Russian guy who lives not far from us, and he's working with one of my teachers. And just yesterday I asked him to write, the comment of like how it feels for him to work with us. It's been like half a year, I think. And that time he said like, okay, I'm sorry, I need to write it in Russian because, it's a big comment. I can't write it express in Ukrainian yet. And I was like, it's fine. I definitely understand. I want you to feel comfortable. Every time I write the bill to him, like every month there's a receipt, and I ask him like, how are you? Like, thank you so much. Just, just like pleasantries, and every time he answers in Ukrainian.
Yeah.
It's like balm on my soul, like, oh my God, how does he do that? Even after like a month, he was like, дякую, будь ласка, and like all of this great stuff. And it really connects because, especially maybe because like, see, Russians always expect us to switch to Russian.
Yeah.
And
I
my
can see
whole
that.
life, yeah, it's been like a trigger for me because I'm from a village and people in villages speak Ukrainian, but people in towns and cities have always
Oh.
historically, unfortunately, thanks Russian Empire, been speaking Russian. So
Yes.
when I was moved to Kiev when I was 16, I was shocked. In the capital of Ukraine, where everybody's supposed to speak Ukrainian, people speak Russian. So that's why it's a big deal to me, It's like, this is how united I feel, And coming back to English speakers, yesterday we were at the bar, we met Lynn, and I said, how are you in English? And she said, pogano, that's in Ukrainian means bad. But the point is, she said it in English, in Ukrainian. So it's like so like interesting. It's like, and actually her brother-in-law was drafted, and she gifted him was that the mat, the camping mat. Got it? And because you need to sleep on the ground, and we've learned this word before, and in Ukrainian it's called туристичний килимок. So she was gifting him this thing, and I said, "Oh, туристичний килимок," in Ukrainian, and she turns to me, she said, "Oh, туристичний килимок."
First
It's
try?
like, she remembered
Yeah.
in the different setting because it's a bar. It's not the same as as a lesson, And she remembered, she understood what I meant, right? She heard it. She's like, oh, yes, it's туристичний килимок. So yeah, it really connects.
Svitlana, you have captured us. This was 1,000 times way better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't get through all of my questions, but that's great because we made a friend. So I'm going to say Дякую.
Дякую, будь ласка.
And if we ever get the opportunity again, we're going to have you back. We're going to finish our questions. There's so much more that we could and should talk about. But most importantly, Svitlana, thanks for talking with Donato.
Thanks a lot. That was so much fun. I don't know how you came up with these questions. They're like just right, just like something that I either haven't thought about or I have. And I was like, you're going to ask that. And you did ask. So it's just like the mixture of all of the cool stuff. And I really see the value in them.
Well, I'm very happy. Well, thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.